Hey everyone, it's Alex, and I am here with my video for the 69th Emmy Awards nominations. Now, the nominations actually came out about a month ago, but the Emmys have the longest gap between when the nominations are announced and when the winners are given out, about 2 months or so. Now, I'm not going to go over every single Emmy category because there are literally over 100 Emmy categories, and if I were to do that, we would be here for hours. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the main acting, writing, and directing nominations for comedy series, variety series, limited series and /TV movies, and drama series. When it comes to things like acting, I just say the name of the actor or actress in the program. When it comes to things like writing and directing, for comedy and drama series, I'll say the writer or director's name, plus the TV show, and the specific episode that they're nominated for, because for writing and directing they're nominated for specific episodes. For variety series, since the writing teams are so huge, they just nominate the writing teams for the whole show, not just a specific episode. And for limited series and TV movies, for both writing and directing, sometimes someone is nominated for writing and directing the entire thing, or sometimes just a specific episode. It's a combination of both. But once I go over the nominations, I'll give you my thoughts on them. Now, the 69th Emmy Awards will be split into 2 different ceremonies. There will be a creative arts ceremony on September 9th and September 10th, where all the technical awards plus some acting awards, particularly guest acting, is given out. And then there will be the main Emmy Awards ceremony on September 17th, which will be hosted by Stephen Colbert. So let's not waste any more time and dive right into the main nominations for the 69th Emmy Awards. Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series: Louis Anderson, Baskets; Alec Baldwin, Saturday Night Live; Titus Burgess, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt; Ty Burrell, Modern Family; Tony Hale, Veep; Matt Walsh, Veep. Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series: Vanessa Bayer, Saturday Night Live; Anna Klumsky, Veep; Kathryn Hahn, Transparent; Leslie Jones, Saturday Night Live; Judith Light, Transparent; Kate McKinnon, Saturday Night Live. Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series: Anthony Anderson, Blackish; Aziz Ansari, Master of None; Zach Galifianakis, Baskets; Donald Glover, Atlanta; William H. Macy, Shameless; Jeffrey Tambor, Transparent. Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series: Pamela Adlon, Better Things; Jane Fonda, Grace and Frankie; Allison Janney, Mom; Ellie Kemper, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt; Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Veep; Tracy Ellis Ross, Blackish; Lily Tomlin, Grace and Frankie. Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series: Riz Ahmed, Girls; Dave Chappelle, Saturday Night Live; Tom Hanks, Saturday Night Live; Hugh Laurie, Veep; Lin-Manuel Miranda, Saturday Night Live; Matthew Rhys, Girls. Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series: Becky Ann Baker, Girls; Angela Bassett, Master of None; Carrie Fisher, Catastrophe; Melissa McCarthy, Saturday Night Live; Wanda Sykes, Blackish; Kristen Wiig, Saturday Night Live. Outstanding Writing for a Comedy Series: Donald Glover, Atlanta, Ban; Stephen Glover, Atlanta, Streets on Lock; Aziz Ansari and Lena Waithe, Master of None, Thanksgiving; Alec Berg, Silicon Valley, Success Failure; Billy Kimball, Veep, Georgia; David Mandel, Veep, Groundbreaking. Outstanding Directing for a Comedy Series: Donald Glover, Atlanta, Ban; Jamie Babbitt, Silicon Valley, Intellectual Property; Mike Judge, Silicon Valley, Server Error; Morgan Sackett, Veep, Blurb; David Mandel, Veep, Groundbreaking; Dale Stern, Veep, Justice. Outstanding Comedy Series: Atlanta, Blackish; Master of None, Modern Family, Silicon Valley, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Veep. Outstanding Writing for a Variety Series, Joe Miller, Samantha Bee, Ashley Nicole Black, Pat Cassels, Eric Drysdale, Nathan Earhart, Trayvon Free, Joe Grossman, Miles Kahn, Melinda Taub, and Jason Reich. Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. Kevin Avery, Tim Carvel, Josh Gondelman, Dan Gerwich, Jeff Haggerty, Jeff Moore, John Oliver, Scott Sherman, Will Tracy, Jill Twiss, and Julie Weiner. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Jermaine Afonso, Alex Bays, Brian Donaldson, Sal Gentile, Matt Goldich, Dina Gusovsky, Jenny Hagel, Allison Horde, Mike Carnell, John Lutz, Seth Meyers, Ian Morgan, Connor O'Malley, Seth Rice, Amber Ruffin, Mike Scollins, Mike Shoemaker, and Ben Warheit. Late Night with Seth Meyers. Barry Julian, Jay Katzer, Opus Mareshi, Stephen Colbert, Tom Purcell, Matt Lappin, Michael Brum, Nate Charney, Aaron Cohen, Cullen Crawford, Paul Danello, Ariel Dumas, Glenn Eichler, Django Gold, Gabe Gronley, Daniel Kibblesmith, Michael Pilasic, Kate Sidley, Jen Spira, Brian Stack, and John Thibodeau. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Chris Kelly, Sarah Schneider, Kent Sublette, Brian Tucker, Pete Schultz, James Anderson, Kristen Bartlett, Jeremy Byler, Zach Bornstein, Joanna Bradley, Megan Callahan, Michael Che, Anna Drazen, Fran Gillespie, Sudie Green, Steve Higgins, Colin Yost, Eric Kenward, Rob Klein, Nick Coker, Dave McCary, Brian McElhaney, Dennis McNicholas, Drew Michael, Lauren Michaels, Josh Patton, Katie Rich, Streeter Seidel, Will Steven, and Julio Torres. Saturday Night Live. Outstanding Directing for a Variety Series, Derek Waters and Jeremy Connor, Drunk History, Hamilton. Andy Fisher, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Red Show. Paul Penolino, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Multi-Level Marketing. Jim Hoskinson, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Episode 0179. Don Roy King, Saturday Night Live, host Jimmy Fallon. Outstanding Variety Sketch Series, Billy on the Street, Documentary Now, Drunk History, Portlandia, Saturday Night Live, Tracy Ullman Show. Outstanding Variety Talk Series, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Late Show with James Corden, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Real Time with Bill Maher. Outstanding Host for a Reality or Reality Competition Program, Alec Baldwin, Match Game, W. Kamau Bell, United Shades of America with W. Kamau Bell, RuPaul Charles, RuPaul's Drag Race, Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn, Project Runway, Gordon Ramsay, MasterChef Jr., Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party. Outstanding Reality Competition Program, The Amazing Race, American Ninja Warrior, Project Runway, RuPaul's Drag Race, Top Chef, The Voice. Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or Movie, Bill Camp, The Night Of, Alfred Molina, Feud, Betty and Joan, Alexander Skarsgård, Big Little Lies, David Thewlis, Fargo, Stanley Tucci, Feud, Betty and Joan, Michael Kenneth Williams, The Night Of. Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Limited Series or Movie, Judy Davis, Feud, Betty and Joan, Laura Dern, Big Little Lies, Jackie Hoffman, Feud, Betty and Joan, Regina King, American Crime, Michelle Pfeiffer, The Wizard of Lies, Shailene Woodley, Big Little Lies. Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Series or Movie, Riz Ahmed, The Night Of, Benedict Cumberbatch, Sherlock the Lying Detective, Robert De Niro, The Wizard of Lies, Ewan McGregor, Fargo, Jeffrey Rush, Genius, John Turturro, The Night Of. Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Series or Movie, Carrie Coon, Fargo. Felicity Huffman, American Crime. Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies. Jessica Lange, Feud, Betty and Joan. Susan Sarandon, Feud, Betty and Joan. Reese Witherspoon, Big Little Lies. Outstanding Writing for a Limited Series or Movie. David E. Kelly, Big Little Lies. Charlie Brooker, Black Mirror, San Junipero. Noah Hawley, Fargo, The Law of Vacant Places. Ryan Murphy, Feud, Betty and Joan. And the winner is the Oscars of 1963. Jaffe Cohen, Michael Zamm, and Ryan Murphy. Feud, Betty and Joan, Pilot. Richard Price and Steven Zaillian, The Night of, The Call of the Wild. Outstanding Directing for a Limited Series or Movie. Jean-Marc Vallée, Big Little Lies. Noah Hawley, Fargo, The Law of Vacant Places. Ryan Murphy, Feud, Betty and Joan. And the winner is the Oscars of 1963. Ron Howard, Genius, Einstein Chapter 1. James Marsh, The Night of, The Art of War. Steven Zaillian, The Night of, The Beach. Outstanding Limited Series. Big Little Lies. Fargo. Feud, Betty and Joan. Genius, The Night of. Outstanding Television Movie. Black Mirror, San Junipero. Dolly Parton's Christmas of Many Colors, Circle of Love. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Sherlock, the Lying Detective. The Wizard of Lies. Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. Jonathan Banks, Better Call Saul. David Harbour, Stranger Things. Ron Cephas Jones, This Is Us. Michael Kelly, House of Cards. John Lithgow, The Crown. Mandy Patinkin, Homeland. Jeffrey Wright, Westworld. Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. Uzo Aduba, Orange is the New Black. Millie Bobby Brown, Stranger Things. Ann Dowd, The Handmaid's Tale. Chrissy Metz, This Is Us. Tandy Newton, Westworld. Samira Wiley, The Handmaid's Tale. Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Sterling K. Brown, This Is Us. Anthony Hopkins, Westworld. Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul. Matthew Rhys, The Americans. Liev Schreiber, Ray Donovan. Kevin Spacey, House of Cards. Milo Ventimiglia, This Is Us. Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. Viola Davis, How to Get Away with Murder. Claire Foy, The Crown. Elizabeth Moss, The Handmaid's Tale. Kerry Russell, The Americans. Evan Rachel Wood, Westworld. Robin Wright, House of Cards. Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. Hank Azaria, Ray Donovan. Brian Tyree Henry, This Is Us. Gerald McRaney, This Is Us. Ben Mendelsohn, Bloodline. Dennis O'Hare, This Is Us. B.D. Wong, Mr. Robot. Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series. Alexis Bledel, The Handmaid's Tale. Laverne Cox, Orange is the New Black. Ann Dowd, The Leftovers. Shannon Purser, Stranger Things. Cicely Tyson, How to Get Away with Murder. Allison Wright, The Americans. Outstanding Writing for a Drama Series. Joel Fields and Joe Weisberg, The Americans, The Soviet Division. Gordon Smith, Better Call Saul, Chicanery. Peter Morgan, The Crown, Assassins. Bruce Miller, The Handmaid's Tale, Offred. Matt Duffer and Ross Duffer, Stranger Things, Chapter 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers. Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan, Westworld, The Bicameral Mind. Outstanding Directing for a Drama Series. Vince Gilligan, Better Call Saul, Witness. Stephen Daldry, The Crown, Hyde Park Corner. Kate Dennis, The Handmaid's Tale, The Bridge. Reed Morano, The Handmaid's Tale, Offred. Leslie Linka Glatter, Homeland, America First. Matt Duffer and Ross Duffer, Stranger Things, Chapter 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers. Jonathan Nolan, Westworld, The Bicameral Mind. And then finally, Outstanding Drama Series: Better Call Saul, The Crown, The Handmaid's Tale, House of Cards, Stranger Things, This Is Us, Westworld. So, as for my thoughts on the nominations, now, unlike the Oscars, where I can pretty much give my thoughts on almost every movie that's nominated there, I'm not going to be able to offer my full thoughts on every single TV show nominated here, simply because I haven't seen every single TV show. But what I can do, apart from the TV shows that I have seen and can comment on, I can talk about whether or not these contenders were considered to be expected or if they were a surprise. So for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, I don't think anyone is really surprised by any of these nominees. Some people might feel Ty Burrell shouldn't be in here for Modern Family since the show is much older than all the other contenders, but I think he's still one of the funniest people on the show. Very glad to see Alec Baldwin in here for Saturday Night Live. Technically, he's not a cast member on that show, but the Emmys have a rule where if you're in a show for more than 50% of its season, then you're technically a supporting actor or actress rather than a guest, because in the past, people had been nominated or won Emmys for guest appearances for appearing in almost every episode of a show's season, and the Emmys changed that because they felt it was unfair to those who were only appearing in a handful of episodes. But Alec Baldwin is really funny as Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live, and he's considered the frontrunner to win here, and I hope he does. For Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, most of these are pretty much expected, like Anna Chlumsky, Judith Light, Kate McKinnon. Kathryn Hahn is considered a bit of a surprise because I think most people thought Gabby Hoffman would be nominated again. Vanessa Bayer and Leslie Jones are surprises as well. Leslie Jones, maybe not so much because she's one of the standout cast members of Saturday Night Live from all the clips I've seen. But Vanessa Bayer is considered kind of a surprise. Almost no one was predicting her to get nominated, but this was her final season on the show, so maybe this was kind of like a goodbye nomination for her. For Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series, pretty much the exact same lineup as last year with two exceptions. Donald Glover getting in for the first season of Atlanta, but that was widely expected because of Atlanta's previous success at award shows like the Golden Globes. Zach Galifianakis is a bit of a surprise because Louis Anderson was the only nominee from Baskets last year, and people weren't sure how well the show would do again this year. But I haven't seen Baskets, so I can't really comment on whether Zach Galifianakis is deserving or not. For Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series, again, pretty much the same lineup from last year, such as Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Tracee Ellis Ross, Lily Tomlin, Ellie Kemper, but with a few surprises. This year, Allison Janney decided to submit herself as a lead rather than supporting. She did a similar thing with The West Wing and had great success with that, so whether or not she'll win here remains to be seen. But this year, Jane Fonda finally got nominated alongside Lily Tomlin for Grace and Frankie. The other 2 years, Lily Tomlin had been nominated just by herself. Pamela Adlon for Better Things, many people considered that a surprise. I mean, the show had been critically acclaimed, but people didn't think she had a shot of getting a nomination. But Pamela Adlon, she's had a lot of work on other TV shows in the past, such as Louie and King of the Hill, so she's familiar to Emmy voters. For Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series, of course, you're going to have a lot of Saturday Night Live people. Hugh Laurie gets in for Veep. He'd been on the show for a couple of years now, but hadn't been nominated before. And then I haven't really watched Girls, but I know a lot of people liked its last season a lot, and I know Riz Ahmed and Matthew Rhys got a lot of buzz for their guest spots. For Guest Actress in a Comedy Series, Carrie Fisher, Melissa McCarthy, those are like the two that many people knew were going to be in there. As for the rest, pretty much what many people were expecting from the predictions I was reading. Wanda Sykes was considered a bit of a surprise because most people weren't predicting her, but Blackish is a really good show, so good for her. For Outstanding Writing and Directing, it's pretty much the same lineup of shows, with the exception of Master of None getting a writing but not a directing nomination. Otherwise, it's just Atlanta, Silicon Valley, and Veep. Basically, this is reflecting the main Emmy race in the comedy categories. It's basically going to be a race between Veep and Atlanta in a lot of categories, especially the top one. For Outstanding Comedy Series, we've got most of the same nominees from last year, although surprisingly Transparent got snubbed when it was nominated for the last 2 years. But most of the other contenders, Blackish, Master of None, Modern Family, Silicon Valley, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Veep, Atlanta being the newbie this year. Most people think it's going to be a race between Atlanta and Veep, so we'll see what wins. Veep currently has the advantage from predictions I've read, but Atlanta could definitely pull off an upset. Writing for a variety series, you know, it's pretty much the same lineup every year, but with one or two differences. I don't believe Late Night with Seth Meyers or The Late Show with Stephen Colbert got a nomination last year, so good for them for getting in. But Samantha Bee, John Oliver, Saturday Night Live, you know, those were nominated last year, and given the political climate we're in, it's no surprise they were nominated this year. Directing for a variety series, I haven't seen these individual episodes, but these are pretty much the shows that almost always get in, although I don't believe Drunk History has ever been nominated here before. And then for Outstanding Variety Sketch Series, pretty much what you would expect, although one show I cannot stand to have on here is Billy on the Street. I know I'm probably in the vast minority of people who hate that show, but I just cannot stand that show. I've watched a few episodes, and I seriously don't get what's funny about it. I mean, how does what Billy Eichner does, and when he just goes up to random people and pretty much just shouts in their face and asks them random questions, how is that funny? Seriously, explain it to me, because I personally think it's a form of harassment. I'm honestly surprised no one has called the police on him for the way he just randomly jumps in front of a person and is like, hey, what do you know about this or that? Or hey, what do you think about this or that? It's just not funny. I'm sorry. And then for Outstanding Variety Talk Series, pretty much the standard lineup, although I am a bit puzzled to see Real Time with Bill Maher in here. Of course, Bill Maher has been nominated many times in the past, and often he's come under fire for a lot of things he said, but recently he came under fire from just about everyone, and rightfully so, in which he dropped the N-word live and uncensored on his program, and which led to a massive backlash, and with many calling for him to even be fired. Now, this happened at the time at which Emmy voters were filling out their ballots, so perhaps many of them had already filled out their ballots and sent them in for counting before Bill Maher said the N-word. So that could be the reason why he's nominated here. But if the voting had started afterwards, I don't think he would have been nominated here at all, and I hope to God that he doesn't win. It's probably going to go to either John Oliver or Samantha Bee or maybe Stephen Colbert. They're the ones who are at the forefront of commenting on today's news, it seems. For Outstanding Host for a Reality or Reality Competition Program, a big change from last year, because last year he had a lot of the same people that you had for years, like Tom Bergeron for Dancing with the Stars, Ryan Seacrest for American Idol, etc., etc. We got a few returning contenders like RuPaul Charles for RuPaul's Drag Race, and Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn for Project Runway, but then all the other 4 contenders have never been nominated before. Granted, Match Game and Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party only just started airing in the last TV season, but MasterChef Junior, that's been on for a couple years now, but Gordon Ramsay's never been nominated for anything until now. W. Kamau Bell, but he's never gotten a host nomination until now. For Outstanding Reality Competition Program, pretty much the exact same lineup as last year, with the exception of RuPaul's Drag Race. It's the first time that's been nominated here. For Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or Movie, Feud, Betty and Joan is the only one I've seen so far. I have plans to watch Big Little Lies and The Night Of on my radar. I'm probably going to binge watch them. But Alfred Molina and Stanley Tucci are very well deserving of their nominations as director Robert Aldrich and studio head Jack Warner. Fargo I have not seen yet, so I can't comment on that, although I do recognize David Thewlis for playing Professor Lupin in all the Harry Potter movies. For Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Limited Series or Movie, again, I can only comment on Feud, Betty and Joan, but Judy Davis and Jackie Hoffman were both phenomenal. Judy Davis was a shoo-in to get a nomination, but Jackie Hoffman, she was kind of considered an outsider, but I'm really glad she got in. I'm actually more happy for Jackie Hoffman than Judy Davis because, admittedly, I like the character of Mamacita more than Hedda Hopper. I still haven't seen the recent season of American Crime. The Wizard of Lies is something on my radar to watch, but from everything I've heard, it seems like these ladies and the gentleman in the supporting actor category are well deserving of their nominations. For lead actor in a limited series or movie, I still haven't seen any of these contenders, but I'm planning to watch most of them. Genius is also another limited series on my radar to watch. For lead actress in a limited series or movie, I can only comment on Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon, both of them very well deserved their nominations. Jessica Lange playing Joan Crawford, Susan Sarandon playing Betty Davis. If I had to choose between the two of them, I'd personally pick Susan Sarandon, although I know many people like Jessica Lange's performance more, I guess because she was given more of the juicy stuff to do, but I personally thought Susan Sarandon did it better, but that's just me. But Big Little Lies, I'm sure Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon are both fantastic. Even though I haven't seen Big Little Lies yet, I know the story of what happens because I did read the book. I've heard the series is pretty much exactly the same as the book, except that they moved the setting from Australia to California because the author of the original book is Australian. And for outstanding writing and directing for a limited series or movie, many people I'm sure are happy about all these. With Feud, Betty and Joan, and the winner is the Oscars of 1963. That was definitely the best episode of the series in my opinion, and everything from the writing, the directing, to the costumes and the set decoration was just fantastic. I mean, Ryan Murphy really did his research on recreating the look of the 1963 Oscar ceremony, and Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon really did their research on Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, especially Jessica Lange, where there's a scene in that episode where Joan Crawford is presenting the Best Director category, and there's a great video on YouTube if you go look it up. Just type in like Joan Crawford, Jessica Lange, and you'll find a video that's like a side-by-side shot of the real Joan Crawford at the 1963 Oscars and Jessica Lange, and there's audio of the real Joan Crawford and Jessica Lange's recreation of Joan Crawford announcing the nominees and the winner being David Lean for Lawrence of Arabia. And then you also see the real David Lean and the actor playing David Lean in this episode recreating the acceptance speech word for word. And then for Outstanding Limited Series, most people aren't surprised by these nominations. For Outstanding Television Movie, no surprise here, although I know many people were shocked that The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks only got the one nomination for Outstanding Television Movie. Many people thought Oprah Winfrey would be a shoo-in to get a nomination for her performance in that movie, but sadly she did not. For Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, I can comment on a few of these performances, namely Ron Cephas Jones in This Is Us and John Lithgow in The Crown. They were both fantastic. John Lithgow especially was amazing. When I watched The Crown, that is a show I did get the chance to watch, and it's on Netflix, so I could easily watch it there. He was fantastic as Winston Churchill. I mean, looking at the makeup and the accent that he used, I did not see John Lithgow in a bunch of makeup. I saw the real Winston Churchill somehow brought back to life. Homeland is still a show I have never seen, but I've heard Mandy Patinkin is fantastic in it. Westworld, I'll try and see that eventually. Stranger Things, I will be watching, don't worry. I've recorded this video right after editing and uploading my Saturn Awards winners video, so I haven't had the time to watch Stranger Things just yet, but that is definitely on my radar. Better Call Saul, I still haven't seen. But back to Ron Cephas-Jones. He was fantastic in the episodes I saw of This Is Us. I watched some of the episodes on NBC.com, and he definitely deserves to be in here. He's had a lot of powerful, heartbreaking moments on the show. I'm not going to go into any spoilers, although I'm sure most people probably know the spoilers anyway, but his story arc was very powerful, and he definitely deserved to be on here. For Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, quite a lot of newcomers this year, given that last year's winner, Maggie Smith for Downton Abbey, can't compete anymore because Downton Abbey is over. And then last year there were 3 women nominated from Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones is not in any of these categories this year because since its new season started airing outside of the Emmy eligibility deadline, it can't compete until the 2018 Emmys. A similar thing happened to Breaking Bad back in 2011, when it started airing its new episodes for that year outside of the Emmy eligibility deadline, and thus had to sit out for a year at the Emmys and wait until the next year to compete. But, so as a result of Game of Thrones and Downton Abbey being gone from here, there's a whole lot of newcomers. In fact, in a sense, it's almost all newcomers, because Uzo Aduba, she had been nominated in this category in 2015, but then she was snubbed last year, but now she's back this year. And then all 5 of the other nominees, Millie Bobby Brown, Ann Dowd, Chrissy Metz, Tandy Newton, and Samira Wiley, they're all newcomers to this category this year. Chrissy Metz is the only one I've seen so far. She's fantastic in This Is Us. I've heard many great things about Millie Bobby Brown in Stranger Things. According to reports I've read, if she somehow wins this category, and she very well could, she would be the youngest Emmy winner of all time. So that's pretty interesting. I believe she's only like 13 years old, and the youngest Emmy winner so far is, I think, Roxana Zal for Something About Amelia, who was 14 when she won her Emmy. The Handmaid's Tale is another show on my radar. I read the original novel by Margaret Atwood a couple months ago. It's definitely a very haunting novel. Ann Dowd and Samira Wiley, I can't wait to see their performances. Same thing with Elizabeth Moss, but I'll talk about that when I get to lead actress. For Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, pretty much a lot of the same lineup as last year, with Bob Odenkirk, Matthew Rhys, Liev Schreiber, and Kevin Spacey, but we got 3 newcomers with Sterling K. Brown and Milo Ventimiglia from This Is Us, and Anthony Hopkins from Westworld. Sterling K. Brown won the Emmy last year for his performance as Christopher Darden in The People vs. O.J. Simpson as a supporting actor in a limited series or movie, but he could very well win again this year, and many believe he will win because of the episodes of This Is Us that I did see. His character, Randall, is definitely the front and center. This Is Us is an ensemble show to a certain extent, but it's Randall's journey that has like the most emotional heft and the most compelling reason to watch. Not that the other characters don't, but it's Randall's journey that gets the most attention. And Milo Ventimiglia, even though his character is only seen in flashback, and if you watch the show you obviously know why, but he's fantastic, and he's definitely probably one of the best new TV dads in recent memory. His character Jack Pearson will probably be ranked among the great TV dads if they should make a list of that like 20 or 30 years in the future. And Anthony Hopkins, I haven't seen him on Westworld, although I know he doesn't have much screen time in a lot of episodes from what I've heard, but when he does, he's like front and center. You can't take your eyes off him. For Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series, quite a lot of newcomers this year. Only 3 from last year are here: Viola Davis, Kerry Russell, and Robin Wright. Tatiana Maslany was the winner last year, but similar to Game of Thrones, Orphan Black didn't air its new episodes in time for the Emmy eligibility period, so it has to wait until next year. But we got 3 newcomers: Claire Foy, Elizabeth Moss, Evan Rachel Wood. Claire Foy is fantastic in The Crown. She really became Queen Elizabeth II before my eyes. I didn't see just Claire Foy. Sort of the similar feeling I had when watching Helen Mirren's Oscar-winning performance as an older Queen Elizabeth in The Queen. Elizabeth Moss, I hear, is absolutely fantastic in The Handmaid's Tale, and there are many who feel she'll win because I hear her performance is powerful, and this would be the very first time she would win an Emmy if she does win, because she was nominated many times for playing Peggy Olson on Mad Men, but she never won there. For Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series, we got Hank Azaria back. Ben Mendelsohn back, and Ben Mendelsohn won last year as a supporting actor, but now he's in guest. We got 3 This Is Us actors. The best one here is Gerald McRaney. If Gerald McRaney had not been nominated, many people, including myself, would have been angry. And believe it or not, even though Gerald McRaney has been working in television for, I think, almost 40 to 50 years, if you go on his IMDb page, he's never been nominated for an Emmy before until now. So good for him for finally getting a nomination, and hopefully he'll win, because his performance as Dr. K on This Is Us, Dr. Katowski is the full name, but everyone calls him Dr. K. But he's very fantastic in all the scenes he's in, and hopefully he'll win here because he really deserves it. For Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series, I haven't seen any of these ladies work, although I know many people are happy for a lot of them. Alexis Bledel, I know many people are happy to see her finally get an Emmy nomination for something, because I know many people are upset that she never got an Emmy nomination for Gilmore Girls. Laverne Cox is back here. She was nominated a couple of years ago, and she's nominated again. Ann Dowd is nominated here again. But of course, you can be nominated for Emmys in multiple categories. She was just nominated as a supporting actress for The Handmaid's Tale, but now she's nominated here for The Leftovers, something I know many people are happy about, because The Leftovers is constantly mentioned in the Emmy snubs list every year, and it's never been nominated for an Emmy before until now. But sadly, it can't be nominated for any more Emmys because the show just ended, unless they somehow bring it back in a revival, because almost everything is getting revived these days. Will and Grace has a revival coming out this fall. Roseanne has a revival coming out next spring. So yeah, Shannon Purser, I know her character Barb was very popular, but I don't think many people predicted she would actually get a nomination. But she did, so good for her. And Cicely Tyson, I hear she's fantastic on How to Get Away with Murder. You know, she's over 90 years old, but she's still actively working, and good for her. And Allison Wright, I haven't seen her in The Americans, but I did see her in Feud, Betty and Joan, where she played a character named Pauline, and she was fantastic. For Outstanding Writing and Directing, the only thing I can comment on here is The Crown, but for the episodes they have the episode Assassins for writing and Hyde Park Corner for directing. Those are 2 fantastic episodes. Assassins is one of the final episodes of the season, where Winston Churchill is having his portrait painted, and Elizabeth is going through some tension in her marriage to Prince Philip. And Hyde Park Corner is the 2nd episode, where Elizabeth goes on a royal tour because her father, King George VI, is too ill, and then she receives word that he has died and she's now the queen. Very good episode. And then for Outstanding Drama Series, quite a lot of newcomers in here, since a lot of the nominees from the past are either gone with their shows ending, or they can't compete this year because they have to wait. In fact, Better Call Saul and House of Cards are the only 2 old shows nominated here. The other 5, The Crown, The Handmaid's Tale, Stranger Things, This Is Us, and Westworld, they're all the new shows. So it's an interesting race. Certainly a lot of new nominees compared to last year. So we'll see how all that goes on September 9th, 10th, and 17th when these awards are handed out. But what do you guys think about the Emmy nominations? I know many people have strong opinions about them. Leave them in the comments section below. And please subscribe to my channel so you can get more of my new videos as soon as they're uploaded. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.